All right, so Chris Smalls, the former Amazon employee and current president of the first Amazon labor union here in the United States, recently went on Tucker Carlson's show, and this actually brought up a lot of controversy on the left, particularly because Tucker Carlson frames this entire discussion basically just as an attack against AOC. But I wanted to play you guys this entire clip and give you my thoughts on it afterwards, because I do think a lot of the controversy surrounding this appearance is really overblown, and that Chris Smalls actually does a fantastic job here of sticking on script and sticking to the message about the union itself. So let's go ahead and watch this.
Sandy Cortez spends a lot of time telling you that she's on the side of the worker. She's like a modern wobbly. She's the Walter Reuther of our day. And that's why last year she vowed to stand alongside striking workers at Amazon's Staten Island warehouse. And we're for that because they need the help. But at the last minute, Sandy Cortez bailed on the whole thing. And that infuriated labor organizers who just won a big vote to unionize at the Staten Island facility. Now, Amazon is stepping up its effort to crush the union. Amazon has just banned words like union on its employee chat app. Christian Smalls is a union leader at Amazon, and we're happy to have him join us now. Christian, thanks so much for coming on. Were you surprised that Sandy Cortez, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who has said repeatedly that she's on the side of the worker against the corporation, wasn't standing with you at the barricades?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just her. It was all of them pretty much. It's not
fair.
Yeah. I don't want it to make it just between us and AOC because, a lot of them didn't show up. And, once again, we have no ill will against them. We know that whether they showed up or not, they didn't make or break our election. We just had to continue to organize.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird moment because, I'm on the right. I've never been particularly pro-union, but it does seem like Amazon needs some counterbalance. Like, it's this huge company. The workers have no power, and maybe we could, share a little power with people who work there. So that's my view anyway. So tell us where you are in your organizing efforts.
Well, right now, we're fighting for a contract. Amazon's disputing their election results. So we're in walking and chewing bubble gum at the same time. We're fighting for a contract. We're preparing for another election in 2 weeks on April 25th. We're going to be voting at a second location directly across the building that we just unionized. So we're in the thick of a fight right now, a legal battle. And, we just have to stay grounded and pretty much begin our campaign all over again.
You'd think that Amazon would be open to a union, wouldn't you? It's a very progressive company. Why do you think they're trying to thwart you from organizing?
Amazon hasn't been unionized in this country since the beginning of its existence, and they're very anti-union. They created a system that hires and fires people. They created a system that they have full control of the working people, and having a union obviously brings representation for the workers that'll benefit the workers at the bottom, like myself, hourly associates, entry-level workers that don't get the right to negotiate. So forming a union gives us the right to collective bargain with the company, form a contract to protect ourselves. So that's exactly what we're trying to do with the Amazon Labor Union. We're hoping that we'll be a catalyst for something that'll take place nationwide.
Well, I certainly am rooting for you. Maybe if they throw some more woke slogans at you, you'll forget you can't feed your family.
Right.
Christian, I appreciate your coming on. Thank you.
All right, Jesus Christ, his laugh is, I cannot get over that. It's the most bizarre, uncomfortable laugh I've ever seen from a TV personality, but whatever, that's kind of besides the point. There's a lot to say about this, right? I think that he does a great job here deflecting away from the focus on AOC and how big of a disappointment she's been. So there's a couple different things that need to be discussed in this entire conversation. Number one, there was a lot of controversy surrounding AOC backing out. She originally promised Chris Smalls that she was going to show up to some of these organizing events and go and stand in solidarity with them. Now, if you're just asking, should she have done that? Yeah, absolutely, she should have done that. And I think as she demonstrated on Twitter and back and forth with Crystal Ball and a couple other people, she didn't really have a good explanation as to why she didn't show up and stand in solidarity with them. So I think that's a fair criticism to have of AOC. Of course, you would like people, politicians or anybody who can deliver material support or public support for these types of union drives. Of course, you want them to show up in every single instance. But AOC, she does have a track record of of showing up, standing in solidarity with striking workers. It's not accurate in any way whatsoever to try to frame this entire conversation around AOC as if she's like the single most powerful person in the world and would have single-handedly altered the course of this organization attempt that was put forward by Chris Smalls. And on top of that, the reason why I didn't cover the AOC drama surrounding this initial, surrounding the aftermath of the success of this successful vote to unionize this first Amazon facility, the reason I didn't cover it is because, number one, I don't think it's that interesting, and number two, the focus should be on the organizers like Chris Smalls and the other workers who actually put in the effort and successfully won this union. I mean, this is a dramatic watershed moment that we're witnessing right now in the American labor movement, with one of the largest corporations in the world, Amazon, being taken down in this sense by the formation of a union where you can have collective bargaining agreements and actually make demands instead of begging for crumbs. This is a watershed moment in the American labor movement, with a single fired Amazon worker initiating this movement, organizing workers, and taking on one of the most powerful people in the world in Jeff Bezos. That's what the focus should have been on in this entire conversation. So that's why I didn't initially cover it. But of course, somebody like Tucker Carlson is going to, instead of focusing on the actual substance of why unions are good, or the substance of the organization strategies, or the substance of the union busting tactics that were being put forward by Amazon, the reason why he's focusing on this topic at all is just to use it as a disingenuous attack against the left and a disingenuous attack against AOC. And again, I think Chris Smalls did a fucking great job at deflecting away from that. I mean, he literally said, we don't have any ill will towards AOC in particular. We just would have liked for her to show up. That should be the end of the conversation, and you move forward and you learn from it, and then you get better, and hopefully in the future we will have people like AOC showing up to more of these events. So if that's the conversation surrounding the AOC drama, I think that's where you got to cut it off. Now, other parts of what Tucker Carlson said in this clip I think are absolutely fucking hilarious, where he refers to Amazon as a progressive company. A progressive company? By what fucking metrics are you talking about? This is one of the largest companies in the world that engages in mass exploitation to the point where some of their workers are having to literally piss in bottles and shit in bags on the job in order to meet the quotas that Amazon is giving them under the threat of being fired. I mean, we've seen all of the egregious and in many cases illegal union busting tactics that Amazon is deploying, and basically targeting workers who are trying to unionize their workplaces. We've seen all of this unfold. So of course they're not a fucking progressive organization in any capacity whatsoever. They're a capitalist organization, and one of the most brutal ones in the entire world. So that's just laughable to portray them as some sort of like a woke corporation, as Tucker Carlson is claiming that they are here. But on top of that, again, they're a capitalist enterprise. So what is their priority? Their priority is to increase their market share. Their priority is to deliver fatter profits for their executives, their CEO, their shareholders, etc. That is their only purpose, essentially, as a capitalist enterprise. And so that's why you want to have union representation, right? Not just as a power balance between Jeff Bezos and average workers, but as a direct way to make demands via these collective bargaining agreements, or even in the case of strikes in some cases, make demands of this corporation for better pay, better benefits, etc., because Amazon would never give those to their workers willingly. We've seen this demonstrated over and over and over again. Now, on the final point of all of this is just the general conversation surrounding whether or not leftists or whether or not anybody should go on Tucker Carlson's show in the first place. So if you followed my channel, then you would know I'm very critical of a guy like Tucker Carlson. He's one of the most, if not the single most prominent white nationalist propagandist in the country. But if you're going to go on Tucker Carlson's show, there's two different ways you could go about doing that, in an effective way or in a disingenuous way. If you go on Tucker Carlson's show as a leftist and you're just there to bash AOC, like if Chris Smalls had just responded to the AOC criticism and just been like, yep, AOC, she's useless, she's a sellout, she's a fraud, and so are the rest of the leftists in Congress. If he had gone on and said that and fed into Tucker Carlson's disingenuous propaganda, then yeah, I would be perfectly critical of Chris Smalls in this instance, but that's not what he did. So if you're going to go on Tucker's show and you do it in a way that's feeding into his propaganda, well, that's not a good thing. But if you're going to go on Tucker Carlson's show in front of the largest platform that any mainstream outlet has in the entire country, and you're going to do it in an effective way that not only, casts aside these disingenuous attacks against AOC and the rest of progressives within Congress, but in addition to that, actually educating people on the status of these organization attempts, on the status of the union busting campaign that Amazon is engaging in and just deliver a generally pro-union message on this platform, of course you should fucking do that. How is that even controversial? And again, I think that he did a pretty good job of doing that in this instance, so I don't really understand why there's that much controversy. I mean, if you actually watch the clip in its entirety, as we just did, it seems like he did a pretty fucking good job, given that he's going on one of the most effective right-wing reactionary propagandist platform in the entire country. I think he did a good job, and I think that generally speaking, when you have an opportunity to do this and you go on a platform like that, as long as you're using it in an effective way to deliver a left-wing message, that's a fucking great thing.